What's going on, everybody? It's Aurora coming at you with a brand new video, and it looks like tonight we finally got some more reveals coming out of the new core set Phantom Darkness coming after Age of Overlord. The only other thing so far we've gotten revealed was like the main theme of the set being the Yubel support, but it looks like we're getting a brand new archetype revolving around some old school ritual monsters. I think it's like Saravis and like some like Safia dragon queen thing. I don't know what her name was. Maybe it was like Safia or something. And I think the first monster is actually the girl featured on the artwork of Sprite's Blessing, which is the ritual spell that summons any light ritual or Saravis. And so it might be pretty intriguing. The only thing I'm worried about is that if we get any good ritual support ever, we know Drytron's just gonna end up abusing it because the deck still exists without like any actual substantial hits to it. But I don't know, I don't want to waste any more time. Let's go ahead and jump right into this new archetype. I think it's called Silenforce. Yeah, right there. Bow to the authority of Silenforce out of Phantom Nightmare. Starting off, we have the girl herself, Noox the Silenforcer Disciple. It is a level 1 Light Fairy. Oh boy, Light Fairy, that's gonna be fun. With 50 attack and 2050 defense, interesting. You can only use the first and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. If she's normal or special summon, you can place one Silenforce continuous spell or trap from your deck face up in your spell and trap zone. If you would ritual summon exactly one light warrior or dragon ritual monster with a card effect that requires use of monsters, you can use this card as the entire requirement. And if a light warrior and or dragon ritual monster is special summoned to your field while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. This is some of the most specific requirements I've ever seen on a card effect that's so strange. I mean, depending on what the rest of the archetype actually looks like and if it like revolves around those older ritual monsters in general, I'm not sure how useful the effects are going to be. I mean, they seem like pretty useful effects, but I wonder how they actually like work with the game plan, because really the only thing I'm seeing that's like really relevant is the on summon effect, but I don't know, I'll have to see a little bit more. Because next up we have Safia. That was the name of the dragon. The Wise Silenforcer Queen. It is a level 6 light dragon effect monster with 2500 attack and 2400 defense. You can only use each effect of this card's name once per turn. You can discard this card and send one ritual monster from your deck to the graveyard, then you can add one light warrior or dragon ritual from your deck or graveyard to your hand. And you can banish this card from your graveyard to ritual summon one light warrior or dragon ritual monster from your hand by tributing monsters from your field or hand whose total levels equal or exceed the level of the monster you summon. So essentially, she's never really a brick unless you draw multiples of her. Discarding her lets you dump a ritual spell from your deck to the graveyard. Keep in mind, this does work with Meteona's Drytron. And then you can add any light warrior or dragon ritual from your deck or graveyard to your hand, so it's consistency and recursion. And you can banish it from the grave to literally just become a ritual spell. So she has multiple uses, and it's not really like it's one effect per turn or anything. So she seems like just a really solid consistency piece, as well as recursion piece, that'll help you get your stuff on board. And finally, we have the boy himself. Bran became a whole human. Saravis the Sagely Silenforcer Dragon. It is a level 7 light dragon effect monster with 2600 attack and 2800 defense. You can only special summon with the first effect of this card's name once per turn. You can only use the second effect once per turn. You can special it from your hand by shuffling 2 spells from your hand and or graveyard into the deck, including at least 1 ritual spell. Keep in mind, this is an inherent summon. And when your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can return this card to the hand to special 1 light warrior or dragon ritual from your hand or deck, but shuffle it into the deck during the end phase of the next turn. So it's got a really easy and recursive summon condition that again isn't even an activated effect, so it's basically just guaranteed recyclability. And then the second effect, depending on the targets, could end up being really crazy. I mean, obviously the first thing that comes to mind is Saravis himself. That will give you some targeting protection for something, but other than that, I really want to know what are like the greatest targets for the light warriors or dragon rituals that you can summon from literally anywhere you want. I don't know, pretty interesting. Their final monster, being their own archetypal ritual monster, is Skull Guardian, the Silent-Forcing Protector. I think that's a retrain as well. One sec. Yeah, it's a retrain of an old vanilla ritual monster. Oh, and it actually features Noox. That's interesting. So it's a level 7 light warrior ritual with 2050 attack and 2500 defense that you can ritual summon with Hymnal Prayer, which is a retrain of Hymn of Light. You can only use the first and third effect of this card's name once per turn. If it's ritual summon, you can add one Silenforce monster or one warrior or dragon ritual from your deck to your hand. It gains 2050 attack while Noox the Silenforcer Disciple is on your field or in your graveyard, so it'll put him at 4100. And when your opponent activates a card or effect while you control Noox, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So basically it says that Noox is going to be the entire ritual requirement and summon herself back to the field, and then that'll allow the Skull Guardian's negate to immediately be live. So seems pretty solid overall. The deck seems pretty consistent with just these monsters monsters. But the real thing I'm interested in is the continuous spells and traps that were promised, because Noox has a really good effect to immediately place one from your deck. So starting off, we're starting off with a ritual spell, Silenforcing Prayer. It is a ritual spell that says you can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. Ritual summon one light ritual monster from your hand by tributing light monsters from your hand or field, whose total levels equal or exceed the level of the ritual monster you summon. If a face-up light ritual you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, a special one Saravis, Safia, or Skull Guardian, the new one, from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. This seems like a pretty solid ritual spell overall. I mean, even ignoring the first part, the second effect is where this card really seems to kick in, because Saravis, remember, is a summon negate, which is pretty damn good, and then the Skull Guardian, obviously, being a negate as on its own, is really nice as long as you have Noox live. The thing is, funnily enough, is that summoning Safia is kind of bad, because Safia has a really decent set of effects, but it only applies if she was ritual summoned that turn, or if a light fairy or light ritual or something was sent from your hand or deck to the if a light monster was sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard this turn while she was face up on the field. So she has to be face up on the field to see it happen, unfortunately, so it's not really as good. But Saravis or the Silenforce or Skull Guardian from your deck is really good. Also, I'm assuming this is supposed to be Hymnal Prayer, because none of the other card names I just scrolled down say Hymnal Prayer. Their continuous spell is Silenforcing Barrier. It says you can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. While you control Noox or a light ritual monster, your opponent's monsters cannot target non-ritual monsters for attacks. Also, your opponent cannot target light monsters you control with card effects. And during your main phase, you can add one Silenforce card or one Skull Guardian ritual monster from your deck to their hand, except Hymnal Barrier. So yeah, Hymnal Barrier, this was actually Silenforcing Barrier as well. Wow, so what I'm seeing is that Noox immediately places this. This adds your Safia. Safia discards herself to dump the ritual spell for the graveyard effect and then add the Skull Guardian. You then use the effect of the Safia in your graveyard to banish her from grave, and then tribute the Noox to summon the Skull Guardian, immediately summon back the Noox, and then you immediately have this really nice protection as well as the negate setup. You could also do this with Saravis as well, but like not as good. But wow, this is a really good card to get immediately off of Noox. It just completely turns everything on immediately. Finally, their continuous trap is Silenforcing Authority. It says you can only use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. During the main phase, you can activate one of these effects. Shuffle one Light Warrior or Dragon ritual monster or one ritual spell from your hand or graveyard into the deck, and if you do, take one Silenforce monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. Or target cards your opponent controls up to the number of Light Warrior and Dragon ritual monsters you control, destroy them, also destroy this card. So essentially, if you already hard open the Silenforcing Barrier, you can place this immediately off of Noox's effect, and then get a pretty decent recovery effect, or I guess I should say consistency effect at the same time. And then on your opponent's turn, you can use the second effect as an additional disruption on top of your negate that you get off of either Skull Guardian or Saravis, meaning it's a pretty solid card overall, though probably won't be played at more than one. Well, everybody, it looks like that's going to be it so far for the Silenforce archetype coming out of Phantom Nightmare. I think this is pretty cool. I mean, like, it actually manages to dodge being, like, super abusable by Drytron so far, even if Noox is a light fairy, and I'm sure people are gonna start cooking with it somehow. But I really like that Noox herself, while she is a massive choke point, obviously, she actually manages to set up literally everything. Like, you immediately normal summon her, activate the effect to place the Silenforcing Barrier, Barrier adds Safia, Safia discards, dumps the ritual spell for its graveyard effect later, grabs your Skull Guardian from your deck, or Saravis or anything like that, and then you can use her graveyard effect to use the Noox, get that body on board, use Noox to summon herself back. So cool, honestly. It's such a small archetype though, or at least it feels like it, even though I believe it's 6 cards. Yeah, it's only 6 cards. It's a pretty small archetype, so I can easily see us getting more, even though technically the older cards do count as part of it. But we probably won't be seeing any of that except for maybe one more card in this set, or we might see more in the next core set. But I think even for now, this is a pretty cool strategy, but that's just my opinion. Let me know yours in the comments below, because that's going to do it for the video. If you liked it, please sure leave a like, as I'll split this video and the channel into two recommended. And if you like this content and want to like the rest of my review series, then perhaps consider subscribing, because we're going to 5,000 subscribers by the end of 2023. Not to mention it supports the channel more than anything else, and it's absolutely free. Also, if you want to support me directly while getting some awesome TCG merchandise in the process, check out Tapio cards in the link down below. Use code Aurora5 for 5% off your purchase at checkout, and to support me financially. But once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Aurora, signing off.